swinging bed, which Yip was using as a surfboard one time. That was quite efficient and fun. Over there is our kind of sharing circle ceremony space in between the trees. At night, it also glows in the dark.
Just to be sure, you guys are listening, right? Yes?
Who did your hair, Mia? It's amazing.
Yes, I'm a model hippie. So over there, you can see the pearl of TDF, which is our sauna, where we chill after a day of hard work. Definitely recommend to anyone. Here's our outdoor bar, where we have parties and hanging out time. Very cool space. We have a DJ set there. But now we're approaching a very special time in TDF's yearly schedule. It's going to be a Bella Art Fair again. It's our yearly gathering of artists. And this time we have Ivan creating a beautiful outdoor cinema. So he's been at it all day, putting some clay, making a beautiful set. He lives here now. We have a lot of camping areas, so you can see like the ultimate chill vibes as you watch the setting sun. It's yeah, that's the spot to be in the evening. Maybe you can hear in the background the Church of Abella. There's the hourly bell, and that's our outdoor cinema being built. Ivan disappeared. I guess he's taking a break now. It gives me a little bit of this Tatooine vibe. And of course, what is a land-based community without its hammocks? So we also make sure that there's always a couple of them available. One of them here. When you come visit, you can pitch your tent, but also you can stay in a glamping tent in nature or in one of the kind of sleeping areas where you're more protected. It's actually quite cool. Today in the morning, there was a lot of birds coming into the building and they were all singing at like 7:30. So you wake up with the sound of the birds just amplified by the walls. It's really quite beautiful. And now we're approaching one of our reforestation areas. So we've been planting lots of trees in TDF. I assume that Yip has been mentioning a lot about it. Our chickens, residents, first-class residents. We built a nice chicken coop recently. And the magic happens over there. This is our food production system. And actually, you're looking at our food production masters. Hey, guys. We're now streaming to the Netherlands, showing around TDF.
Hoi, Nederland. Hello, Nederland.
Hello.
That's where the food grows.
Behind Sam.
Let's have just a quick peek. So yeah, this year we produced quite a lot of food. It's been like the first year that we've been able to eat a lot from our garden. Let's note. This is one of the also challenges here because as you can anticipate in the summer, the climate is really dry, it's kind of deserty. So we're working on that. There's a lot of irrigation work going into it and shading, but actually the yield of vegetables was quite amazing this year. Now it's kind of going down a little bit as we're heading into fall. But yeah, we've been eating mostly from the garden this spring and summer, which is really wonderful. It makes all the difference. Okay, so another area where the magic happens is our workshop or play shop. And you have a hippie with a saw constructing stuff.
Hello.
So you can have a look, our massive construction area full of tools. You can build your dream. It's really a lot of fun. Maybe Yves will tell you later about his adventures with the irrigation system last year. That was fun to watch.
I remember that.
It's our shower area at the end, and we have now super improved evening bath scenario. And now we're approaching the courtyard. Yesterday there was this dome erected. Dome that we're gonna move. This is our courtyard, so we kind of hang out here. We have meals when the weather is fine. The sleeping area is one of the warehouses behind. That's our pizza oven that was built recently. We have some people doing some gardening. What you up to, guys?
We're taking tree cuttings.
Ooh.
I like.
We're
We're making tree cuttings for poplar and oleander trees and bushes to go
Fantastic.
to our agroforestry.
Agroforestry. Okay, let's peek into our activity room. This is where we gather. We are now in the middle of a team retreat, so lots of activities when we're indoor happen here. And then behind we have one of the best parts of TDF, the cabinet of transformation. So all these fancy clothes you can transform at any time, whenever you want. And we have a co-working space behind. This is another outdoor area to hang out. We painted this wall last year in March. It was actually lots of fun. It looks fantastic. And here's B. Looking gorgeous as always. Yeah, this is kind of the
This is the
brains,
trash.
the trash. We have a list of volunteers and people on the ground, who lives where, you know, all this kind of logistical parts. And here's the kitchen with some magnificent beings cooking some delightfulness. What you making, Daisy?
We're making a very tasty fried zucchini in the shape of the accordion from polenta pizza.
Polenta pizza. Wow,
Wow.
that sounds fantastic. Here's where we collect our stickers. Bring yours when you come and visit. And that's our office, kind of living room area. Our world famous glowing sheep. If you don't know how to find home, just follow the glowing sheep. That's the advice we give to people. And yeah, this is where we hang out, where we create things.
Hi.
Annie, what you doing, Annie?
Oh, sending you guys an email.
This is where the magic happens. Do you have like little sheep?
It's for the open mic tonight.
These are our architectural plans and the land, so I can even show you. We kind of walked from here. We took you through the bar area. We walked to the outdoor cinema sculpture. Then we came through here to our food forest and the garden, and then entered the warehouses where we live. And then yeah, here's the workshop, the sleeping area. That's our kitchen. That's the room where we are now. And that's the activity room and the beautiful courtyard. And then the plan is to eventually acquire more land here. Yes, I think this is it. I hope you enjoyed our little tour.
Wait, now we have to ask like if there's anything that you want to say.
Yes, that's true. Do you have anything to ask? Here for you, my dears.
Where is he from?
Where is he from?
Michal.
Michal, where are you from? That's the most inspired question that we can come up with.
That's super inspiring. I'm from Pico. Ik ben een tovenaar van Pico Island. Goedemiddag. That's my Dutch. Oh, I know. I'm trying my best. Any other question?
Other question? A difficult one. Hold your patience.
Well, I have a difficult one. How is this all allowed? As in, you know, in the Netherlands, you have, bestemmingsplan, what you call it, you need permits to change the activity of the land or the use of the land.
Do you hear the question, Michal?
Could you repeat it one more time? There was some hippie playing music and it made it pretty much impossible to hear.
Yeah, the question is, how does it work legally? Why is this all allowed that we are like hosting tons of people and parties and like how we deal with the Camara and stuff?
Yeah, that's a great question. Okay, get you. So basically it's combination of finding legal loopholes that allow us to operate within the gray zone, right? So like, of course, there are some activities that require permits and we're in the process of getting all the permits that we need. And like we have the architectural plans, for example. This is one thing in Portugal, that if you want to be developing something, you need to have the actual architectural project that you need to submit to municipality. And it's quite complicated in Portugal with the bureaucratic procedure. It just takes a very long time. So we are in the process of doing that. We have the approved plan. We're applying for permits for hosting people, for operating events, all this kind of stuff. And in the meantime, we're operating. Some of these things are already like legally sound. Some of them are in the gray zone. This is the reality of making this kind of projects. We still want to keep the interface with the system, right? So we don't really like this idea of kind of siloing your community and just saying system is bad, we're just going to create our little bubble and do whatever we want and don't care about the law. In the same time, in order to make the kind of projects that we have, we are creating a lot of new things that either don't exist or just don't really work. So yeah, there's a lot of creative work. So yeah, we have our lawyers that help us design and work with the actual legal risks and responsibilities that we need to adhere to. We have our company registered in Portugal that operates basically the business on the ground, and we have the OASA association, which is registered in Switzerland. So yeah, there's like the whole complicated legal part of operating a project like this. And I'm not going to be lying, there's a lot of work in all this kind of different fronts. I mean, we're prototyping quite a lot of things, from the way of living together to governance to ownership of land. It's the first land-based DAO in Europe. There's not really any prototypes or handbooks to follow. So it's a lot of creativity and figuring things out and asking for support from other projects and collaborating. So yeah, this is kind of a long-winded answer to your question. I hope it gives you enough context.
And I think a big part of the answering the question is it's also Portugal. So there is also a big gray zone in a way that they don't have the same government as we have. They live in Portugal almost 10 million people. But I think 6 of them live in the big cities. So, and we live in a really remote, sparsely populated area. So they're already happy that something is happening and the young people find interest in it. So it's also an opportunity for them that we bring economic activity life and actually take care of the place. And we're just really
This is actually really awesome that you're mentioning this year, because what I've noticed since I'm living in Portugal, and I live in the islands of Portugal, but in the mainland is a similar thing in the rural areas, is that a lot of, let's say, social approval plays a very important role in the legal part of the process. So basically, if your local community approves of your existence, everything becomes much easier. If your local community doesn't like you, you will have problems. So this is also part of our work. We have actually local people just coming from the village almost on daily basis. And we also support them. So we provide this space where we are right now. Used to be, it used to host community events. That was a long time before we acquired it. So there is kind of the local culture of using this place for gatherings, and we keep that tradition. So there are certain festas, so local festivals that we just invite local people to come here. We have some local kids that just come here to hang out, and sometimes they even help us with building some simple construction things. Sometimes they mess up a little bit of when we're working, and it might be challenging.
About my special friendship with Sebastião and
yeah, exactly. Yip can tell you all about it, but we also make sure that we give back to the local community in that sense. And actually, there's a beautiful story that happened this summer. So this one particular kid, the one that Yip is mentioning, Sebastião, we wanted to send him to a permaculture camp. So our community basically funded him to go to a summer camp where he was kind of learning permaculture. And, for him, it's like a life-changing opportunity. And we see that as an investment in our local community. So it's not just foreigners living, in a nice building in Portugal and doing their own community. But no, we are literally very deeply trying to be integrated as much as we can with the locals. That has its own challenges. Of course, they live a different lifestyle that we do live here. But yeah, making those bridges is very important for us. And as much, it's a community move, but it's also a tactical move, because yeah, we have their permission and approval and gratitude for doing stuff that they can also enjoy. So that also makes it possible for us to be here.
I approve.
Nice. More difficult questions.
To ask about the financial part of the project. I understand now we're going to use tokens, but originally how started financially? Where did you find the funds?
Can you hear, Michael? Yeah.
I think it's better if you reframe the question, Yip. I hear it, but it's like very echoey. So yeah, it's very hard to understand the gist of the question.
So the question is, who did the initial funding, like buying the farm and the land, and like there are a lot of aid and...
I get you. So basically, when it comes to funding, we kind of started, let's say, in this, what we find is kind of the usual way of starting this kind of project. So we had a founder with a capital that was able to invest in the kind of give the initial push. And then we had the first rounds of looking for people who are willing to invest in the very early stages. And from the very beginning, we designed it around our token. I'm sure that you already heard about how it works, so I'm not going to go into details. But before the token existed as an actual thing on the blockchain, it existed as a concept, and we were just tracking it in a spreadsheet. But that was the original way of also sourcing extra investment on top of what we got as a kind of the starting package from our one of our founders. So in a way, we found that this is kind of a typical way of how this kind of project started, that you need most of the time a person that puts a significant amount of money into the project. And we're actually, when we were last year researching how communities deal with money and how do they start, we didn't really find many alternatives. So like you usually have either one person or a group of 3-5 people that just put together large sums of capital. So I'm actually very curious about alternative ways of doing so. But yeah, for us, it worked in a sense that from the beginning, we designed it that it's not meant to be the project of our founder, but there's like this whole exit process that over the period of time, as we build the project, as we start now selling the token, which is now available, it's probably properly deployed on the blockchain, and you can actually acquire it and participate and fund the project. In that sense, the ownership becomes decentralized. We called it exit to community, and maybe Yip or Bart can share a link with you. Sam, our one of our founders, wrote an article about this whole process and his personal journey with how it felt for him to put this initial capital and start with the project, and then basically exit the project and allow the community to do the further development of it while taking the financial risk for it, of course. So yeah, I feel this is actually a very interesting article. I highly recommend reading that, and then you can get more context directly from the source of the project.
Thank you. Can you?
Yeah, I can also send it afterwards. I'll make sure. Yeah.
More difficult questions to the ground.
Yeah, I'm curious. In the beginning, you of course had a vision on where it should head. And then other people got involved and they had different visions. And of course, part of the vision is that they can steer it in a different direction. So I'm curious if there's something from your beginning vision that's completely away, and how you dealt with it. Does that make sense?
Do I have to?
Yeah, please reframe.
So the question is like, from the start of the project, there was a vision. How much did that vision change by different views or different people with different visions? And how we deal with the conflict, or I can tell.
Yeah, the good stuff. I feel you. Great question. So actually now we're in the middle of a team retreat, and one of the activities that we were doing yesterday was looking at different horizons of our project. So, Horizon 1 being what is happening now, Horizon 2 being the kind of middle ground, and Horizon 3 being the long-term vision for this project. And one thing that we find is that we're actually very strong on the Horizon 3 side of things. So we know very well where are we going, and the community buys into the vision, and we support it, and we know where we want to head with this project. So this is kind of a very stable direction, a North Star that guides us in this project. And a lot of it is really defined in the pink paper, which is our founding document that kind of started the whole thing. In terms of, logistical and operations, and writing down how this could actually come into existence. And then when it comes to Horizon 1 and just being what TDF is today, this is way more chaotic part, because like we work in a community. There's quite a few people involved. We have around 50-ish members at this point, with maybe around 30-40% of them being quite active and involved. And that, of course, rotates, right? So sometimes people come for a stewardship, like Yip was stewarding last summer with me, and 2 more stewards. So we were here, and then, you take a break from that, knowing that somebody else is carrying this responsibility of managing the project on the ground, which is actually an amazing feeling, that you can leave from here knowing that there's somebody else taking care of it. But of course, every person has a different way of doing things, and everybody has a little, differences of communication styles and ways of how things should be done. So this is something that we're operating, and we're iterating quite a lot. So even we find that from stewardship to stewardship to stewardship, there is a big change. And some of the things are quite small, daily, logistical, operational things. And some are quite significant changes. But it's all within domains of the stewards that manage the project on the ground. So there's quite a lot of adaptability, and sometimes it feels quite chaotic, because it might be that we realize after 2 months that we need to iterate and we need to change something, but we embrace that as a part of the process. It's not easy. As I said, we don't really have a handbook to follow. We're prototyping a lot of things, and a lot of it is simultaneously being prototyped. We have limited resources in terms of capital, in terms of human energy. So it's all a little bit of a dance, and kind of managing day to day, where to put your energy, and how does this align with the kind of stewardship cycle, and how does this align with the master plan that we're trying to realize. And of course, you all know that probably, that things take longer than we expect them to take. So of course, we're experiencing that on a daily basis. And it's a part of us figuring out how to do it. We could probably, have a dictator telling us how to do things, but when you open to a community distributed leadership, things take longer, because you still have this decision-making mechanisms, and then you need to get the buy-in from the community. So it's not just making the decisions, but making sure people are happy. Offer some carrots, exactly, the good old carrots to motivate people. So this is kind of how it works. We're iterating a lot on the Horizon 1, and the Horizon 3 is quite firmly rooted in all members, and this is really what attracts people, we find, to this project, that from the day one, they know what are we trying to achieve. And of course, we might not get there, but for us, the way we see it, is a journey worth doing more than anything else that we could do. So that's why we do it. And the reality is that there's churn, there's people also burning out, there's difficulties, there's conflicts. Like, this is the natural part of any project, and we embrace that. We learn from every stewardship, we try to iterate and become better, and we know where we're going, and it's still inspiring after years of doing it. So that's a good sign.
I think also the people we attract, what you mentioned, like, we wrote the pink paper, so it's already a selection of people that are attracted to this kind of project. So, like, the worldview, like, we all share it in a way. And it doesn't matter if you're from Turkey or the Netherlands or Sweden or Russia, or what kind of skill set you have. If you're a corporate robot engineer or a startup rebel, it's something what you really feel strongly at this place. Like the worldview is quite the same, but if you want to build a compost toilet, that can be then suddenly quite challenging because it's this way or that way. It cannot be both, and that's also the big fun part of it. But I think what it really brings all together is we have quite high quality people in vision, but also in different skill sets. And I must say it's quite unique to experience that the willingness to make it work is also quite high. People spend a lot of energy and time and effort in this.
Cool. So we have space for one more question from our end before our battery dies. So who has the last things to ask us?
Animal is what is Gibbs' spirit animal?
Are we gonna skip the
As long
question?
as the project gonna fail,
What?
what's the biggest risk that you guys can't do shit about that might screw you?
Oh, that's a good question. Did you hear it, Mia?
So please repeat. Yeah, this I need you.
I'm gonna give you the answer and then I'm gonna say the question. Moloch. So what is our biggest enemy, or what is our biggest risk that will make the project fail?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, one, yeah, it's of course what you mentioned is the people side of things. Like with every community, you just know that you're going to deal with conflicts at some point. I don't see it as a risk. I see it as a given. Like if there's two people, there's going to be conflict at some point. So you just need to deal with it from day one and be prepared to navigate it effectively. There's of course the risk of climate change, right? Like we're in middle south Portugal. It's quite dry here. It's getting deserty. It's really hot in the summer. So to maintain a food forest and keep the trees grow, it's a lot of labor and energy and water, which is, becoming more and more scarce as a resource. And of course, like on one hand, that's a big problem because we just need to make sure that our food forest keeps growing, that our gardens keep producing food. The kind of, the good way of looking at it is that if you manage to grow trees through this difficult period when there is, lack of waters and all that stuff, the roots grow stronger, right? So then the trees can handle a very tough climate, of course, to a point. So yeah, we're very much aware of that.
Yeah, it's something. It also creates a microclimate, so it actually brings you humidity back.
Yeah, that's a very good point. So yeah, like basically our hope is that we can create our own microclimate here. And also it's not just us doing that in Portugal. There's this whole idea of creating a green corridor that connects numerous projects that are starting in Portugal or are being here. I mean, you're probably aware that Portugal is kind of a hub for different types of communities from like really hippie commune van life type of things to more advanced places with resources and proper infrastructure. So there's a little bit of everything here. So yeah, there are a few people from different communities trying to actively create green corridor. That's kind of one of the possible plans that then would help us shift the climate on a bigger scale than just our tiny little local Abela village scale. But of course, there's a risk. Maybe we don't make it on time, and that creates an issue. So we are aware of that, and still, it's something worth trying. Yeah, I think that's kind of the biggest risk. Of course, there's financial risk, right? Like we need capital. So like now that's why we also finally we have the token deployed. So this is a way of investing in the project. We are raising the capital to actually build the whole plan, make the master plan come true. So that's kind of another part that we're navigating, like how do you deal with lack of resources or limited resources, and how do you invest them in a smart way to create all this positively reinforcing loops that then allow your project to be built over time. So yeah, I would say those are kind of the main areas: the people, the climate, and the resources part.
But skills never die. Skills never die. So if it gets too hot in Portugal, then you just move 200 kilometers up north and then you do it again.
Yeah, we had this idea of a community village in a box. So that was the whole kind of concept was, hey, imagine you just bought your amazing piece of land, or you just have access to it, and you're just shipping your container full of stuff. What's in the container, so you can start deploying your village. So that's also actually a fun game for you to play as a homework exercise when you're chilling in the evening. What's in your container when you're going to build a regenerative village? Yeah, and I think our battery is slowly dying, so I think this will be us checking out from here.
Yes.
I hope you enjoyed this little tour and some Q&A, and yeah, I'll pass it back to Yip and Bart.
Yeah, well done, guys. Thank you so much.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao, ciao.